Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Raad Life. I wanted to give a shout out first and foremost to my buddy Troy Russell from Troy Anthony. Where's his lion? With the lion right there. Troy is a good friend, and I promised I would do a shout out for him for the website that he set up for face masks. So if you're in the market for face masks, you may want to check out tailor-made face mask, singular, not plural, tailormadefacemask.com. It's a great concept, and the quality is definitely there. He's a custom tailor that is pivoted to do this during the current crisis, and it's really, really nice to see him do that. So here's the shout out. Again, tailormadefacemask.com. Go check it out and let me know what you think. Troy is a great guy. If you have any questions, I'm sure he'll answer them for you. With that being said, I do want to stay with the sort of the idea of business going online, even more so prompted by the coronavirus, and literally e-commerce going on steroids as part and parcel. Like in the past, you may have an e-commerce site, you might have an online store component, you may be informational, you may be actually full-fledged e-commerce. You may be begrudgingly kind of providing pickup services for your restaurant because some clients may want it, but you're not sure if you want to really do it, put a lot of effort and energy into it, resources, because you're getting a lot of fees from Uber Eats or Grubhub or what have you, DoorDash. And then coronavirus happens and everything pivots online. I mean, thank God for Zoom. Thank God for these things that are available for us, utilities, for us to be able to recalibrate, reimagine, reinvent our businesses, our lives. And if you really think about it, the period of time it took us, not just individually, but not only as a nation or a country or a state, but as a world population, the amount of time it took us to pivot and start basically functioning under the weight of the crisis was so short. It was crazy. It was like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And boom, everybody's doing Zoom. Everybody's buying online. Everybody's, figuring out ways to survive while sheltering in place. So with that being said, I think the support organizations and the people that are going to be lobbying for that, if you will, sector are going to grow more and more in importance. And I wanted to bring on a gentleman, Tayde Aburto, who is basically the founder of the United States Business Association of E-Commerce. That is the United States Business Association of E-Commerce. Tayde also is the president and chief executive officer of the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce. Isn't that interesting? And he's been the president of that chamber of e-commerce for 10 years. The United States Business Association of E-Commerce is a more recent thing, but it's not coronavirus based. I kind of got wind of him about half a year ago. And so I wanted to bring him on. I want you to find out more about this because you really should be aware of these organizations and associations as we go forward. Because that is a very viable revenue stream generator now, and you got to really be competitive in that space. So with that being said, let me bring on Tayde. Tayde, let's see if he's there. Hello, are you there?
I'm here.
I took a little longer because I actually was laying out a little bit of the fact that, we've been kind of dipping our toes in the e-commerce world. I mean, I've been online since, 94 maybe, right? Covered wagon days and bulletin boards and $1 a minute on AOL, and I have probably the phone bills to prove it, right? And we've always had this sort of e-commerce online sort of business thing that's kind of happening. Some people, dipping their toes in it, but there's been more or less a reluctancy unless you are a full-fledged committed to that, unless you are a big enough operation that you have the ability to have an equally weighted presence online, and all the money that goes into that, and the infrastructure, and the architecture to really have a working e-commerce site versus just an informational website. It has been kind of lukewarm a little bit, and as a whole, not in certain places, you know. And all of a sudden, this thing with coronavirus, and it's like it causes us to have to go there, right? Out of necessity, but at the same time, the speed by which we pivoted to that is phenomenal. I mean, for us, not like, and I said, not individually only, not even a state, not even a nation, but globally, for the globe on multiple levels and scales of business and individuals and families, to be able to recalibrate to some level of sustainability within a week and a half or 2 weeks. I mean, that is a revolution in itself, I think.
It is, yeah.
Right? So, Tayde, if you don't mind, before we get into that, that's why it took longer. It's like I wanted to really just kind of like drive that point home for people to start thinking about. Please take a minute and introduce yourself. Tell people about you. I did mention that this is not a new thing for you, that you've been in this space for a while, the e-commerce space. So give us a little background. Tell me how you got into it. What are some of the things that 10 years you've been involved with the Hispanic e-commerce, and that's a long time. You've seen a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want me to start with the story?
Tell me the story. What's the background story?
Perfect. So the idea of the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce started when I was working on my dissertation to get my master's degree.
Okay.
I was working on a project where I was measuring the impact of e-commerce in export businesses, and
Okay.
this was in 2008. And of course, as you can imagine, the report showed me that those companies that were using some type of e-commerce tools in their operation, they were outselling their competitors by a really good margin.
Mm.
So in that process, I discovered that there was a digital divide between the general market and the Latino market, and in the U.S. And I started trying to
talk a little bit more about that. What do you mean when you say that?
Well, digital divide by like small businesses in the Latino community not having like any type of online presence, like no email, no website, like zero digital presence.
Do you think that was just because of the nature of the community? I mean, in some communities where it's like more word of mouth, it's more of a trust-based situation. What was the reason? Was it financial? I mean, that would be maybe the first impression, but I also know that there's very well-funded, lucrative businesses in the Latino community, as any minority.
Definitely.
What was the reason? What do you think that reason was?
Definitely the word of mouth. Like I remember talking to some of the first businesses here in San Diego back in 2008 to try to get them on board with some type of digital strategy. And that was the first thing that they will tell me, like, oh, I don't need it. I generate enough business, like word of mouth or by referrals, etc. So I just don't need it. And some others, like they were so comfortable with the level of sales or the revenue that they were generating that they didn't have any special interest in growing their business in the digital economy. And besides that, I think those that were thinking about it, they were a little hesitant to take the move just because they thought that it was complicated to get into the whole e-commerce business of the equation. But I mean, unfortunately, I've been doing this for 12 years now.
Yeah.
And it is still the same mindset in a lot of those business owners. But now what we're going through right now, believe me, like the conversations that I have had over the last 7 weeks, they start with like, I'm struggling and tell me what I need to do. And I'm like, the same thing that I've been telling you for the last 12 years. Yeah, depending on how long I have met that person that is calling me. I was like, you need to get online. I was like, okay, like, let's do it. Like, what should I do? How can I do it? And I mean, the conversation has changed over the last 7 weeks. Like, I mean, it's making my pitch easier.
Well, it's funny, right? It's not a necessity. It's like when you don't have a gun held to your head and you have all the time in the world, you're reluctant and hesitant. And then when you don't have a lot of time and you got to basically, it's more dire, then you're motivated. It's like what necessity is the mother of invention. I think it's very much the case here. But what's also interesting is that it's there. It's like the possibilities are there, the resources are there, the tools are there, and they're available at a very low entry cost.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the cost, Raad, because when I started in 2008, if you remember, like, building an e-commerce website was still a little pricey. I mean, you will need, I would say, $3,500, $5,000 at least.
That gives you maybe a 2-pager, 3-pager.
Yeah, exactly. And that will depend based on the amount of products that you were planning to sell online. Right now, with Shopify and all those e-commerce platforms that are available in the marketplace, I mean, you can start with $19.
Teddy, we put up Troy Russell for tailor-made face masks. That website went up in one day. They worked on it for like about maybe a week. It went up with one day, and when it went up with about maybe 50 swatches of fabric. Nobody, basically, to your point, I think people forget that it used to be almost like real estate. Like you paid by the number of pages for websites. You paid almost by the number of words, like meta tags. Remember meta tags?
Yeah.
Like all this stuff, HTML1, HTML2, it's a totally different world. Now you just go on GoDaddy, and within like half an hour, you're actually point and click building your website.
Yeah, and back in the days, most likely you will have to have an IT guy helping you to maintain the site. So that was an additional expense, $200, $300 a month. Right now, you avoid all that because of how much these platforms have changed over the years. And I think, after COVID-19, or, during this crisis that we're going through right now, this is the perfect time for small businesses to really get serious about e-commerce and incorporating a digital strategy as part of their business model.
So other than people that, which usually happens when you have a struggle of things that you used to count on. You used to count on people walking into your businesses. You used to count on repeat business referrals. And now all of a sudden, not only that, but people are really hesitant to spend money. How much of what you have experienced in the last 7 weeks has been more a curiosity and a kind of like a reaction, I got to do something, versus a commitment to actually go down this path?
No, I think, for some of them, it has been a reaction. And the first thing that I've done is like, calm down. Because if you rush into it, you can also have a big failure.
Oh, yeah.
It is important that, because every business, every industry is different. So before they jump into the water, they need to understand like some of the basic steps that they need to conduct before they start selling their stuff online. They have to do a little research to see like what the pricing is for the products or services that they're selling, so they stay competitive. They also need to conduct a very good assessment of what they are selling to make sure that it provides the same quality that the competitors are providing. But regardless of all those factors, I think this is the time for business owners to sit down and go through what they're doing and conduct an assessment of the resources that they currently have, what they can use and what they cannot use. And I'm not talking about like adapting your business model, but it's more like reinventing your business model.
Well, you can't just put this on as another layer. It has to be integrated, and that may mean that you have to reinvent, or not reinvent, reposition, restructure the foundational aspect of your business. And I'll add another layer of complexity to this that people are not maybe realizing, is that currently with the guidelines, And I think it will go beyond the guidelines. I think it'll go beyond when it is a necessity that's being driven by some strong suggestions and guidelines and enforceable guidelines. You are actually right now being told that anybody who is non-essential service for your business, that is actually, does not require proximity or hands-on for your business, should be working remotely.
Mm-hmm.
So when a business is basically structured with everybody under one roof physically, and now they basically have to provide additional space elsewhere in your home, in whatever, right? First of all, what if those employees do not have the means at home?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to incur that additional cost, right? Also, when you start incurring that additional cost, will you start looking at your physical environment saying, well, why do I need that 3,000 square feet? Maybe I can get away with 1,500. So now I'm needing less space. I take on less of a fixed cost on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
This works for me better. So now I put people out and remotely have them work for me. Maybe I can even manage the time and on how much time I need, because there's an efficiency factor, which is kind of an interesting duality. People moved home, and what I'm hearing from people is, as much as there's maybe even distractions or not, their level of efficiency they feel is better because there's less distractions from coworkers and stuff like that. I mean, I can't wait for those white papers, right, about human behavior. But with that happening, these employees, these businesses are now looking at really restructuring foundationally restructuring their businesses.
Mm-hmm. No, and I agree with you, and they are going to realize how much money they can save, by going through some of these changes, and the old school mentality that, I have to see you like working on your computer to feel like you are earning your money, it's going to be pretty much gone after this. It's just going to be based on results driven, on performance. You're going to get a project assigned to you, and they're going to give you like 10 days to complete it. And it's going to be up to you on how you manage your time throughout those 10 days. And if you still want to keep that job, you better deliver what they ask you to deliver in 10 days.
I do more business, and I'm not talking about networking. I do more business on this than I do at my desk. And you just made me think about an ironic thing that I usually will say. I will usually say, man, I can't wait to have a day where I can be at my desk catching up, right? I've been saying that for the last 3 years, okay? And the number of times, other than this with the coronavirus, that I've actually been at my desk working, I can count them probably on two hands. Mm-hmm. Like on a regular thing, like, oh man, I wish I had a day at my desk. I wish I had a day at my desk. Well, that's really kind of an oxymoron, I think. And why do we say that? Like, why can't I just say, yeah, cool, this doesn't matter? I mean, right now it doesn't matter. You could have businesses that are generating money for you that don't even have a physical location.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have a business that has a physical location, and now you have an equally revenue generating engine that is not physical location, doesn't require inventory stocking. It doesn't require massive labor. The stuff is being made and manufactured and shipped. You don't even have to deal with the delivery. You're just paying for it. I mean, so what are you seeing as challenges? Because I mean, obviously now, like you said, it's not a hard pitch. It's not a hard sell. People are like, okay, I get it. When do we start, right? But what are you seeing, Tayde, that is like a challenge? And what are some things that are opportunities that are maybe not on radar screens, people's radars just yet?
I think like the biggest challenge right now is to change that mindset, right? Like these business owners need to understand that things are not going to be the same after this, and if they get rid of all that old mentality that they have previous to coronavirus, and they have like an open mindset to listen to ideas that can help them to optimize their operation, because right now they're kind of like on survival mode, like, oh, you're going to have to go home and you're going to have to get this done, But if you start working on an internal process that it will incorporate the digital part of your business, from like working remotely, selling online, managing, human resources. And I mean, there are going to be so many different processes within the business that are going to have to change. But so the business owner, the biggest challenge is for them to understand that this is the new reality. There is no way that, I'm going to go back previous coronavirus.
There's no going back to that.
There is no go back.
Normal. Yeah.
And there is no go back. And they need to understand that. And believe me, like from some of the conversations that I have had so far, it's going to be challenging for some of them. I was like, but it was so perfect before. I was like, but it's just going to get better if you can think outside the box, just to give you a number. By 2021, there are going to be 2.1 billion consumers online worldwide.
Wow.
2.1 billion consumers online worldwide. Okay.
Wow.
So if you think about that, in the US, there are 300 plus million. And that's kind of like, if you want to think like every American is your potential consumer,
right?
Depending on whatever you sell, think about 2.1 billion. And logistically, moving products is just easier now than it was like 5-10 years ago.
Oh, it's easy. It's easier than it was 3 years ago. I mean,
Exactly.
That's another thing that I want to just point out. I remember when this first happened 7 weeks ago, people were concerned that Amazon was going to stop delivering.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And that was part of why they hoarded, because they I can't get this stuff from Amazon. Well, yes, you can't get it. You still can't get it from Amazon because it's basically been hoarded. But, the funniest thing for me is that you cannot buy Logitech cameras on Amazon because they're still out of stock, right?
Yes.
After 7 weeks, they're still out of stock.
Yeah.
So, anybody who's got a stock of Logitech cameras out there, you're making a killing. And the used ones that are being sold on eBay are like $300 versus $70.
Yeah.
So somebody's making a killing. But Amazon just had a blip, and then boom, we're back to operation.
Mm-hmm.
The one that was also fascinating, although they're getting a lot of bad press right now, because I think it's a political strategy, is the U.S. Post Office. U.S. Post Office performed brilliantly. I mean, with as much as we rag on the U.S. Postal Office, man, people were, I love you, U.S. Postal Office, when Amazon went down for a minute, right?
Yeah.
So shipping is easier than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So some of the companies, actually, one of the things that I was fascinated by is those who depended, for example, in the food and beverage industry, who depended on, delivery being picked up by Grubhub or, Uber Eats or what have you, DoorDash. They stopped that, and they basically went and got their own van.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, so it's that growth mindset. Like in the middle of a recession, you went and bought a new van. Interestingly enough, Hertz Rent-A-Car is going through a potential Chapter 11 bankruptcy or restructuring. So they're basically flooding the market with their cars. So you don't have to pay $50,000 for a van. You could probably pick up something that's, maybe from a rental company that's basically trying to sell some inventory, and boom. And so now, whereas you were reluctant and you were counting all the pennies that you were losing because the businesses that were picking up and delivering were taking a lot of commission, you took that and now you made it your own. So now you're in the delivery business as well.
Oh, I know. And when there is a crisis, there is always opportunities. And I think that those people that right now are in that state of mind where they are seeing this as an opportunity for growth and as an opportunity to invest in other industries, start a new business. I can tell you how many of our members are thinking about stopping what they were doing and, using some of that know-how that they have to start another business that has some type of a strong digital component to it. So we have seen it, consumer behavior has changed over the last 6 weeks. A lot of moms, for example, that were reluctant to buy their groceries online, now they are like, why it took me this long?
Yeah.
It's like, it's helping me to save time, and I'm buying like really good deals. And I'm just excited because this, for me, has been very challenging at some points in the last 12 years to convince some business owners that I could see like the potential in their products and services to be sold online. And they were like, no, this is not good for us.
That blows my mind. That blows my mind.
And right now they are like desperate. They are hungry to start selling online. And you know what, the way that I see it, it's not just like a Latino situation here. Like the way I see it, right, it's a competitive advantage for our country in a global economy.
Oh, sure.
The more business owners that we have in the digital economy, American business owners that we have in the digital economy, the better our country is gonna do worldwide. And if I have a direct connection, or maybe like, you know, Latinos listen to me a little more than other ethnicities, well, I'm just trying to make an impact, a positive impact in that community that right now has more than 4.6 million Latino businesses across the country that generate over $1 trillion in revenue. So we need to get them on board in the digital economy. And now with the new project that I see our logo in the back for the U.S. Business Association of E-Commerce, it's just us working like everything that we have learned over the last 12 years. Yeah. Now we want to take it to a national level. And we have invested all this time and resources into building this platform, because there is also one thing that is going to start happening in a greater scale over the next few months. We're going to start seeing a lot of online marketplaces in many different verticals in online. And it is going to be important for small business owners to find those marketplaces that make sense for them to sell their products and services. Because it's not just, I mean, Amazon is a monster and they dominate the e-commerce industry in the US, but there is going to be opportunity for online marketplaces at the state level, at the local level, or by industries, by different products or services. So we're going to see an explosion of online marketplaces over the next few months.
You know, and there are people that are reluctant. It's something new. It's something I don't understand. I don't really know how it works. It's up in the ethers. Can't really attach a visual reference to a warehouse. I understand. A box of stuff on a shelf. I understand. You know, this is where I don't know. How does it work? What if this doesn't get to this? You're right. And it's a different mindset that you have to adapt. It's fascinating to me on a couple of levels. One, that the people that are hesitant to do this are probably people that are also spending a heck of a lot of time on social media. Like,
yes,
it's like, I'm comfortable in this space, but I'm not comfortable in this space, right? Mm-hmm. Which is kind of an interesting, duality. The other thing is, when you were talking, I kept thinking, because I know you had a posting about rural business and how like online tools and technology help rural businesses, small businesses.
I posted that yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about small businesses benefiting from that, and everything from the customer base to cost, purchasing costs. You can almost argue too that you could have a cumulative, what do they call it, bargaining power. Mm-hmm. From people that are basically not physically in the same space, but you can basically team up together, and now all of a sudden you're, I mean, we had a conference call the other day with Global Wellness Day, which is a nonprofit. We have ambassadors for it. It's a one-day event, ambassadors for it all over the United States and on other 32 countries. And this is the first year where we have to basically do this thing, and it has to be virtual, like online. Like, how do we do this? Mm-hmm. You know, we had probably 20 people on the call. What was interesting is one of the issues was that we always have had a problem with printing these circular paddles that basically say, I say yes to Global Wellness Day. Well, while we were talking, we realized that one of the people had a printer. We realized that if we actually set a date for as a final for everybody to bring in their orders, we could actually do a cumulative order from the printer, regardless where it was, Maryland, Delaware, Florida, it didn't really matter where it was. That printer could take the cumulative order where everybody benefits from the purchasing price being now reduced in economies of scale.
Exactly.
Then now they will ship to every single person wherever they are.
Exactly.
At no additional cost to break up the order. And so, to your point, I mean, that's it. So the reason why the rural jumped at me when you were talking, because I know you posted that, I think, yesterday. It reminded me of what would the people have said at the time when Sears Roebuck sent catalogs to all the farms in the United States. And it was the beginning of a mail order program. No, there was no internet. There was no digital way to convey this, but commerce went from physical location to catalog sales. And they built a friggin' empire called Sears Roebuck on catalog sales. So, okay, the principle is still the same. The technology is different, right? But that is one of those things that if you really break it down to look at other examples where this has succeeded, it's just the means that may be different. Now you need people like yourself that are clear on the nuances, because it has its own nuances. The way you market online is not the same way you market in person. The way that you generate exposure and brand recognition is not the same way. You also are in danger if you're not clear. And I see a lot of people right now doing this. I don't know if you have noticed this. There are people that are still applying the same marketing approach right now during the coronavirus period as if they were doing before. In some cases, it's coming across as being very insensitive and non-empathetic. And so they are actually, in the course of continuing to do exactly what they were doing before, because they're desperate to basically try to generate something, the messaging itself is inappropriate for the time, and they could do some fatal damage to their brand.
Yeah, they have to be careful with that.
Right? So, I mean, I advised somebody in the branding business the other day. I said, you might want to expand your business to have a brand, what's it called? A brand repair, almost like credit repair.
Yes.
Like brand repair for people after coronavirus. Show me what you did over the 7 or 8 weeks. Okay, we need to basically do some damage control. What are some of the things that you're excited about, other than, like obviously this crosses over almost much more seamless actually to multiple regions, multiple ethnicities, markets open up in a different way. What are some of the things that you think are untapped? Like for us being so, like comfortable, depending on your age or generation or whatever, comfortable with e-commerce. What are some of the things, some of the areas that are untapped, some of the areas that maybe in the course of pursuing sort of the Amazon model, or everybody trying to be an Amazon light model, that there are other things that maybe have been missed that are still opportunities?
Well, I think we're like, going back to the rural businesses and the rural market. I think we're going to start having access to very high quality products and services that before COVID-19 it was like non-existent to us, because we're going to see a lot of these business owners more motivated to start building this online presence, and we're going to start discovering things that were out of our reach before. Like, for example, like one of our members now is selling fish tacos to Chicago. So imagine like winter in Chicago, minus 30 degrees, and you're going to have access to like Baja style fish tacos, because now this guy in San Diego is selling them online. Yeah. So it's just going to be like the little things that are going to bring so much happiness to your life that probably before you were not thinking about it. And if you allow me to go back to one comment that you made earlier, because I think it's very important to address it. It's like the economies of scales is one of the reasons why I was so motivated to work on the United States Business Association of E-Commerce. And I'm so excited that for the opportunity that I'll have to work with rural businesses, because right now some of them, and for many, many years, they have been doing the hard work, like planting the onions, planting the potatoes, etc. And because of their lack of knowledge, or, because they get so busy, managing the farm, etc., that they were not thinking about options for distribution and finding new markets for their products, right, that could go directly to the buyers. So now what excites me is like we're going to be able to help these farmers and these rural businesses to connect with, maybe like avoid 2 or 3 middlemen along the road.
Right.
And they will have access to more money. So we're going to see an increase in economic development in these areas, because there is going to be more money in those communities as a result of e-commerce transactions selling to the final buyer.
Well, you know, that also is an interesting thing, because, you know, you may not have the capacity. Like, that's the other thing, is you may not have the capacity. Like, I had a situation recently where we were not able to fill an order for a price point that the person wanted to sell.
I understand that part, but
no. What I guess what I'm saying, Tayde, is that by having that ability to combine those resources, it's not just in terms of distribution of your products. In some cases, it may be filling those orders that you need to fill, whether you are at capacity or it's outside your current mechanical capabilities, and you can actually team up with somebody who services a different niche. Like, for example, just simply, somebody who services orders that are from a certain quantity and up cannot really handle things that are smaller. But if there's somebody who actually doesn't want to deal with large quantities, but is able to provide a cost-effective price point for smaller quantities, all of a sudden, one is farming orders to the other, and the other is farming orders to the other, and they're cross-marketing their services, and both are making at least a referral or a commission fee on something, and then helping support that space that the other person may be not strategically going after. These are things that, you know, women are very good about this.
Yes.
They basically, and that's probably why the largest, you know, number of businesses and startups are women owned. But I think, not just men, but I think just in general, the business world has been based on competition. Compete, win, lose, winner, loser. Like, that's it, right? Women have a different C word that they use. They say collaborate.
True.
And it's funny because I go to a lot of, you know, presentations. I go to a lot of like events and business meetings and stuff like that. And it's very noticeable that the DNA wiring is more collaborative than it is I win, you must lose as a competitor. And what we're talking about here is really that. It's that collaborative spirit that translates and transcends, actually, physical location, geography, you know, and you might not even be aware that they're there. Like, this is the cool thing about what you're doing. How many members do you have currently in the United States Business Association?
Well, we are launching it in June.
So it's brand new. But do you have people that are joining already?
Brand new. Yeah, we'll probably start the marketplace with about 200 companies.
It's impressive.
Yeah, and in the US, in the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce, we have 1,200 members, the majority of them being here in San Diego County. We have a few others that are outside San Diego that have found our website online, and they read, you know, the benefits of the membership and decided to join. We are changing the business model a little for the U.S. Business Association of E-Commerce. Like, we're gonna give like a 30 days free trial so they can experience the platform, what it has to offer. They can get a sense of our philosophy behind the project and how we work. And I think, that's something new that we're gonna try, but I'm very confident that in those 30 days, those that decide to experiment, like the U.S. Business Association of E-Commerce, I'm pretty confident in our ability to keep them as members, and also to engage them in the community, because that's something that I have worked very hard with the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce, is to have that sense of friendship and collaboration amongst the members. Because, you know, in the past, I have had business owners that ask me, like, how many accountants do you have in the chamber? I say, I have a few. I was like, I don't know. It's like, because some feel like like a business association should be exclusive, you know, for some of these business owners. And
well, they look at it,
great.
they look at it as, and I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I've looked at things like that too. They look at the group and the configuration of the membership, and they think, okay, is this something that is sort of like my, my ideal business referral or my ideal connection? What's interesting, just reflecting on experience over the years, is I believe there's some truth to that. You have to be aware of that. But I think that there's another layer to this that is almost unanticipated, like you cannot anticipate it, but is relational. Is you're building these relations, and that person that may not be a referral to you, maybe 2 degrees of separation for the perfect referral to you.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I that's actually kind of a unique thing, because a lot of networking organizations actually do not have that approach.
No, and I love that you mentioned that, because for example, in our situation with the work that we have been doing with the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce, we have been able to get business to some of our members with our partners in New Jersey or in Illinois or Michigan, you know, other Hispanic chambers that are in that collaborative mindset. And, you know, a long time ago, because we're all engaged with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which is like the umbrella for all the Hispanic business associations across the country.
Right.
And even within our group, we are kind of like segmented, you know, like the ones that we love to help each other out, and those that just go to the events to try to get, you know, sponsors for themselves or, you know, any connections for themselves, but they are not there to, like, you know, share best practices and, you know, like, oh, you have a member that is, you know, could do business in San Diego, I'm going to refer to you, etc. So I think at the point that we are right now, and now more than ever because of COVID-19, Americans have to help each other out more than ever. And we cannot see each other as competitors. Like the way I see it is more like from a global perspective. So we have a very unique opportunity because of the quality of the stuff that we produce, that we manufacture in this country. We have a unique opportunity to go after a market share that is called the world. And even if you're a small business owner, like, you know, selling, you know, 50 units a month, you can still sell those same 50 units, but for a bigger profit margin because of the digital economy. And if for some of, and I realize this because of what I have learned with the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce, some of our members will not be in the position where they want to be like making hundreds of millions of dollars. For them, just making their ends meet and maybe like a little extra, you know, for the bottle of tequila, whatever, that's what's gonna make them happy. And I think right now with the situation that we're living, where we know that our health is our biggest asset. The time that we spend with our family and loved ones is like the most precious thing in life. I think a lot of folks through this situation have realized that. So it's not about making like money all the time or just having like a fancy card and all this fancy stuff. It's just like having enough so you can have a quality of life. And I believe that digital economy allows you to have that quality of life, and at the same time, you know, being able to provide to yourself everything that you need. And that's something that we are working for, and we have invested all this time in putting together this platform, that whoever engage with this platform that we have and this business concept that we have is with that mindset in mind, you know, like collaboration, having access to new markets, give more visibility to the products and services that you love, that you have created with so much passion. Let the world know about them, and someone will buy them because it is the internet and it's the economy, and that's how the global economy is working right now.
The thing I think that is very important, and you're right, we have an opportunity. The question is whether we will take it, because in order to take that opportunity, in order to, you know, we're throwing around the words collaborative and all of this stuff, but the truth is that the country here, and I think to a certain extent maybe even globally, is divided. There's divisions that are, another thing that the coronavirus thing has basically done is it has highlighted and like put almost like it's crystal clear where some of these divisions are. I mean, one person is screaming at the person for not for staying at home. The other person is screaming at the person for not wearing a mask. I mean, people are very passionate about what they believe, and their beliefs, sort of maybe the negative side of the internet is there's so much information that people are able to be, I don't know if it's manipulation or just where you lean. Like you tend to lean in a certain direction, so you find information that supports your position, and that certain part of that is human nature, but the other, you almost have to work against that instinctive reaction, knee-jerk reaction to a situation in order to go find other information, to educate yourself in a different manner, to approach things differently. But you're right, the opportunity is there, should we take it, in order to secure a different structuring of quality of life. Like quality of life has been on a diminishing rate of return when you think about how many hours you have been driving to work and back from work.
Yeah.
How many hours did people gain by not having to actually commute to work?
Exactly.
Okay? Now you may argue like right now, oh my God, I can't stand my kids. There's not enough alcohol in the house right now. I need just, something about, I need a safe room. So not because in case I get a home invasion, it's because I want to go scream my head off and nobody want to hear me, right? I need it padded. But, you may say that right now, which I'm not saying is not true, because human relations can be straining after a while under one roof. But I think you will admit that even with that, you have been given a different quality of life during coronavirus. You have had the at least the ability
to own your time.
Yeah, the gift of coronavirus, and I said this yesterday, there are two gifts, if you choose to look at them that way. One, you were given the gift of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before coronavirus, certain high-end hospitality properties, spas, wellness centers, charged you for silence.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, they charged hard dollars, to provide you silence. So what does that say to you? Your world was so noisy to the point of deafening your own voice. You couldn't hear your own thinking. You couldn't hear yourself thinking. You couldn't hear your internal voice at all. And coronavirus, after you got through the fact that, you were going to still wake up the next morning, that, it's going to be different, but it's still going to be okay. Strained, struggling, but okay. At least for the time, the immediate future. You realize that you were given time, and that you could actually think, you could process, you could actually absorb. You had more time to either take in more crap information or actually good information. You could go get a certification in something. You could spend more time with your kids. You could actually connect and make phone calls to friends. I mean, whether it's on Zoom or not, I've seen people basically connect with people they haven't talked to in over 20 years, because they basically say, oh yeah, I wonder what this person is doing. Next thing you know, there's 5 of them on a call. Quality of life, as well as, I think, measure of status. And when I say measure of status, it's not so much the fluffiness or the front visual of it. Measure of status meaning what you value.
Exactly.
I think the measure of value and the measure of what is quality of life for you, custom made, could change after coronavirus. Now, not for everybody. I'm kind of jaded and sarcastic, so I will say, at least maybe for some. But a lot of people may say, I still want to work full weeks, but I want 2 or 3 of those weeks to be at home. Or I want to have the choice of where to work those 2 or 3 weeks. I don't want to be in the office. And the employer may say, you know what? I'm okay with that, because I'm going to measure you now differently for your performance. Now HR is going to be different, how it's going to be applied. How we track time is going to be different on your timesheets. Who pays for my backdrops at home when basically, is there a custom generated graphic green screen backdrop that everybody in that company has to use when they are basically on company business, right? So it's going to be different, but you could, I would not be surprised if employees don't use that as a leveraging point of negotiation when they're being hired. And we won't be looking at it and going, well, that's crazy, man. What are you talking about? That's such an oddity. You want 3 days at home? No. What are you, a doctor? What are you, you own your own business? You're not. You're an employee. You're working in this company. I think companies are going to say, yeah, that's not a problem, unless it's something that's production that requires you to be there. And we don't live in a manufacturing world that requires that kind of thing, right? I will tell you another thing, Tayde, that came out of a conversation that I heard, and it was referencing the time period between the agricultural revolution, and the industrial revolution. And the reference was made that, most people think about the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution as a transition, as being one that was overly positive, didn't really have victims. It just got better. It was just better, right? And this person basically said there was actually a certain group that really was basically decimated by the Industrial Revolution. That was just basically like almost taken out, like became like an oddity almost, right? And that group is the horse.
Mm-hmm.
The horse went from being the engine of the agricultural revolution
mm-hmm.
to eventually being something that you really looked at when you drove by a countryside with a big home that had a lot of property and wanted a couple of things that were aesthetically roaming around and just dancing around in their fields, right? The horse was a victim. And where they were going with this is that unlike the horse, we have the ability to adapt. We have the ability, and more importantly, the choice to individually make to whether we adjust, adapt, pivot, whatever word, pick your word that you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't realize that what we just went through was not just a 7 weeks of inconvenience and struggle and why me,
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize that what we just went through in 7 weeks was a paradigm shift that will affect everything. Whether today or after a period of hesitation and resistance, it will affect everything, because now people for over 30 days have been given the opportunity to see something different. And some of them will want to pursue it. So where can people find out more information, Tayde, about the two chambers, and what are some of the tools or services that they can count on as being part of membership? Because I know you're going to open up your membership to the U.S. Business Association E-Commerce. You said this month, right? Like end of this month?
June.
Oh, June. Yeah, so just around the corner. So
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the services that they can, and features of membership, benefits of membership that they can count on? And what are some of the things that you're looking forward to, like that you have planned, for example, for them over the summer?
Well, the association is going to be hosted in a technology platform with business applications that are going to be provided to the members. So every business that joins the association, we have a microsite with online catalog and CRM, gallery of pictures, blog, and other features. So automatically, the moment that you sign in, we will teach you like how to use this platform to promote your products or services within our network. And also, we're going to be kind of like a marketing partner of your business, because we're going to be doing some business on the side to highlight the members of the association. So at the end of the day, everything that we do and everything that we've been doing with the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce is focused on helping our members to generate business, because our associations have never been like so politically active or lobbying in Sacramento or DC, etc. Like our goal is to leverage online tools for the benefits of our members, whether it is directly from applications that are in our platform or through third-party vendors that are partners, strategic partners of the associations. We just want to help small businesses to grow and compete more effectively in domestic and global markets. And that's the work that we do and the focus on every program or any initiative that we launch through the association. So it's a monthly membership. Everyone, can decide at any given point if they want to stay with the association or leave or come back later. I don't like we changed that about 2 years ago with the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce, and it has worked really well. Like no long-term.
The month to month.
The month to month, yeah. Because if you don't see value in what we are doing or what we offer, why do you have to pay $300, $400 a year?
I always find that very interesting. Like people that are basically in the business of networking and promoting business that basically don't put they don't put their organizations to the same test. Like if there's value in it, then I'm spending money on staying in it. If there's no value in it, then why do you expect me to do that? What kind of fees are they looking at for membership?
Well, for a small business, it's $19.97 a month.
Okay.
Mid-size $24.97, and then like a larger business is $49.97.
Okay.
And we have other options for corporations that are trying to have a bigger impact in the association. So we have sponsorships available, and those range in price depending on what they are trying to accomplish within the network.
Where can people find information about this? Do you have those applications for membership up now, or is it something that, like, what are the websites that people can go to? I'm assuming
for the U.S. Business Association of E-Commerce is usbaec.com, and right now we have a landing page. It's funny because we have it on WordPress, and we've been talking about all these features that the platform is going to have, and some tech friends of mine have been like, how are you going to do that on a WordPress site? As I know, it's a technology platform that we have invested a lot of money to build it. And that one is going to be available on June 1st. And I knock on wood that nothing stops us from launching on that day, but that's the plan. For folks that are interested in, networking with business owners in the San Diego County area, I want to invite them to join the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce. Have been in business for 12 years. We have a very active network of business owners in the region. And, if San Diego is a market for them, we definitely can be a good partner to have in this area. And for that, the website is hiscec.com.
Okay, and they can see the one for the U.S. Business Association behind me. That's wonderful. Are you planning any like educational? I mean, assuming that we don't go back to the old normal in terms of flexibility and being out and about and so forth, and we still have, and plus the fact that it is kind of reflective of your platform or the area of focus. Are you guys planning any like educational seminars, panel discussions, expert presentations? When you
definitely. Definitely. That's part of the business model. We're going to have experts addressing different business-related issues. In the beginning, we will probably focus a lot on anything that has to do with the digital economy, but we understand that to have a healthy business, you need to know how to manage your cash flow and your accounting and all that. So we'll invite experts from across the country on different fields to address our membership and also to create high valuable content that can be relevant to the businesses that are joining the association. So based on how, the different industries that start joining the association, once we have some that are more predominant than others, we will start bringing experts on those fields so they can share valuable practical tips to the membership.
What are some of the market sectors that are represented in the Hispanic Chamber?
Right now the majority are in the professional and business services, but we do have a few manufacturers and retail and in other industries. But that's very prominent in our association just because they are more inclined to networking and do all that part of the process. But now with this COVID-19 thing, the majority of the people that have called me over the last 7 weeks are in retail. So I know that we're gonna see a huge peak of retail businesses joining the association because of what we're living right now.
Well, and like you explained in the past, those particular sectors, they may have been more reluctant or didn't really see the necessity or the need to engage in an e-commerce situation. So that makes perfect sense that you wouldn't necessarily have a lot of people that are in there. And so that is, you know, if people want to check out the Hispanic Chamber of E-Commerce, let's give the website out again, Tayde.
HISCEC.com. And if they Google us, they will find a lot of info about us.
Yeah, and you know, you can see who's involved in there. It sounds like to me like the United States Business Association e-commerce will be you know, sort of modeled a little bit based on that, and then taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope that we can do it again, you know, a few months after we launch, and to see where we're with the.
I would like to do that. Actually, I think what would be good to do is maybe send me a reminder when when you are launching in June, assuming that all goes well and you're still on schedule, and we will put a reminder out for people to go to the website, and I will get you this if you want to basically use it, you know, embed it or something, because I think, you know, right now it's not unlikely that we may find ourselves, you know, come June, where we're still somewhat restricted.
Oh yeah.
And so whether you're doing this because you see the benefit of adding this to your offerings as a business or a business owner, which you should be. If you're not, I think you're missing the boat, and you are actually, I would venture a guess, you are almost at risk of extinction, because this is not an option anymore. Like, you not only have to have this, you have to excel and thrive in it. And there's a whole wide gap between barely putting something up and really making it work.
Yeah.
And it's specific to the industry, it's specific to the market, it's specific to the product. I mean, you need a very nuanced sophistication to really pull this off. Otherwise, all you're doing is going to be hemorrhaging a lot of money for boilerplate stuff. So you can't afford not to be in an e-commerce situation right now. And if you're not in that growth mindset, but you're kind of like in this sort of like, how do I survive? How do I sustain? Well, I think, rather than bemoan and cry what you cannot do, you may want to focus on what you can do. And this is one thing that you can do, because it's not limited by time. It's not, in many cases, limited. I mean, that 1995, I mean, a month, that's a no-brainer. Okay, to try it, and there's no commitment for it's a month-to-month situation. That means that you guys have to prove the value of your association in order to maintain your membership, which is, you know, that's authentic, that's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's more than fair. I think people should be encouraged to reach out to you in advance if you're interested. Well, you know, the information is there. Reach out to Tayde for this information when you can. Don't get caught behind. That is the other thing too, because you may be sitting in a small, sweet niche market situation, and because you don't act, in 6 months, that opportunity, the window closes. So find out, educate yourself, empower yourself, grow. Instead of saying why, say why not.
Thank you, Raad.
I appreciate your time, my friend.
No, thank you very much.
Be safe.
I appreciate it. Have a nice weekend.
See you soon. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.